watching UNO with Dr. Ambrish Saxena.
Hello students, today is 26th of November 2019. Today India is celebrating its Constitution Day. It was on this day in the year 1949 that Constitution was formally adopted, and for this purpose the Constituent Assembly organized a special session. Few of the provisions of the Constitution, particularly related to citizenship and elections, came into effect the same day, but the total Constitution was formally put into implementation from 26th of January 1950. Why 26th of January? For this we have to go back in the year 1929. In the month of December, Indian National Congress held a meeting in Lahore. That was a special session of a significance for the reason that it was in this year and in this month that for the first time India adopted a resolution for Purna Swaraj, for complete freedom from the British rule. And it was also decided in this session that from 26th of January 1930, India will celebrate its Independence Day. When India got independence on 15th of August 1947, then obviously the Independence Day of India became 15th of August. Then it was decided then 26th of January will be celebrated as the Republic Day. It was for the first time in the year 1934 that M. N. Roy, who was a prominent leader of the communist movement in India and who was a supporter of radical democracy, he talked about a Constituent Assembly. The next year in 1935, Congress adopted as one of its main demands. In 1939, C. Rajagopalachari talked about a Constituent Assembly and the election for this Constituent Assembly based on the adult franchise. The next year in 1940, the British government of that time accepted the proposal for setting up a Constituent Assembly in India. When Cabinet Mission came to India in 1946, then it was decided to hold election for the Constituent Assembly. Elections were held in the month of May and it was based on single transferable vote system based on the proportional representation, and the strength of the Constituent Assembly was decided as 389, which included 292 members from the British provinces and 93 members from the princely states and 4 members from the Chief Commissioners provinces of Delhi, Ajmer, Coorg and the British Baluchistan. Coorg is the present day Karnataka. The meeting of the Constituent Assembly happened in 1946, that was in the month of November, but thereafter the next meeting could take place only in August 1947 because meanwhile the whole process of the partition of India had started. In the month of June in 1947, the Cabinet Mission was abandoned, and in July 1947, a proposal was mooted in the British Parliament for the India Independence Act. And as we all know, in August 1947, the country got divided. So, the new independent countries, India and Pakistan, were created. So, accordingly, the Constituent Assembly also got divided, and the members which were being represented from those areas which had gone to Pakistan, like the East Bengal and the West Punjab, they ceased to be the members of the Indian Constituent Assembly, and a separate Constituent Assembly was created for Pakistan, and fresh elections were held in the areas which had gone to Pakistan. And after the reorganization, there were left 299 members in the Constituent Assembly of Independent India. The Constitution of India is the longest constitution in the world, and the handwritten copies of English and Hindi are kept in the Parliament library, and the Constitution has 12 schedules, 22 parts and 444 articles. And the best part of the Constitution is its preamble, which guarantees us the social, economic and political justice. And another important part, as we all know, is the section with regard to the liberty or the fundamental rights. But since that time, the Constitution is in a progressive state, and till now 103 constitutional amendments have taken place in the Constitution. Now moving on to another story, this is regarding elections in the UK. The elections in the UK are scheduled on 12th of December of this year. This has become possible because of a resolution passed by the British Parliament on 29th of October. In fact, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson was making efforts for these elections for the last 3-4 months, but it was not becoming possible because of the opposition of the Labour Party. And why Johnson was interested in elections? Because his Brexit deals were not being cleared by the Parliament, because his Conservative Party and their allies, they were not having the sufficient number in Parliament. As we all know, that Brexit is all about the exit of the Britain from the European Union, and this whole deal has not yet been finalized because of the non-approval of the Parliament. But once the Labour Party withdrew its objections to the polls and supported the government legislation in Parliament, decks were clear for elections in Britain. But the real problem has arisen for the Johnson because of the endorsement of the US President Donald Trump, and it is considered by analysts as the death knell for Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister. Why? Because the British MP feel that Donald Trump is in fact unworthy of the other president or following the footprints of other president of the US. Politically, all major political parties, like if we talk about the Labour Party, they have been critical of Donald Trump and his proximity to Johnson, and to the extent that Labour Party is trying to instigate the voters in Britain against Johnson on this issue. And they also have the allegation that Johnson is in hand in glove with Donald Trump on the issue of selling the NHS, which is a public healthcare scheme in the UK. Even the Liberal Democratic Party is critical of this proximity of Johnson and Trump, and they said that it is like morphing the Donald Trump, and they said that the country's interests are being sold by Johnson with his proximity with Donald Trump. And there is a public perception in the UK that Donald Trump is a misogynist and racist. Even Boris Johnson in June was keeping a distance with Donald Trump, because that time he was staking his claim as a leader of the Conservative Party, and he was thinking that his prospects might be diminished if he is projected as close to Donald Trump. And incidentally, Donald Trump is visiting UK on 3rd of December to take part in NATO summit, and this is just 9 days ahead of the election date of 12th of December. So nobody knows what will be its impact on the prospects of Boris Johnson in the election. That is all in today's edition.